Every violin has something like this inside. Did you know that? Do you need it and do I have to make them myself? Hello, back again. This is Edgar from Cremonese, Italy, and I build violins, violas and cello and even double basses. Today we talk about the Purfling. There has been somebody who was asking me a question about the Purfling, how they are made and things like this, so I thought, we have to go deeper into this subject because you are watching very close and you recognized already that every violin has actually along the side, on top and on back, the Purfling. Now, not every violin. Testore, for instance, when he had some customers who didn't have too much money in the pocket, he made instruments without the Purfling as well, so he scratched them just like my last Testore. The Purfling is something which apparently is completely useless. Here I have a huge tube actually with my Purfling collection. There are thicker ones as well. These ones are for double bass. I got them from a German company who makes this. This is a profession, a specific profession who makes these kind of things. Now you would think, what? He could do these linings, this Purfling himself. Yes, I could. And I did it even, you know. So this is, when you look carefully, it is made out of a white center and left and right there is a thin layer of black wood applied. Yeah. When you build the instrument, we have the Purfling cutter, we go along, we pass with the knife and then we put in the, takes you about, when you get started with it, it's about, let's say 2 hours. You could make it even quicker, but then if you make a copy like this and you want to make all this and you want to capture the original, it takes a little bit longer. Then you make the channel and then you have these Purflings, you bend them on the bending iron, you put them in, then you cut the corners exactly that the Purfling is matching at the corners exactly how it should be. If you're inside the violin making community, how these corners are cut are more than a fingerprint, and people are investing a lot of time to get it done exactly the way how they want it. Anyhow, we put it in and apparently it's just for beauty, but if the instrument out of spruce so thin gets hit here on a cello, happens very frequently, it would crack. The ears go like this and the Purfling goes like that, and it keeps the whole thing more stable and more together. You very often see damaged edges, but not that there's a crack. Of course, at a certain point, if you start hammering here, it all cracks every time. Yeah, I made already Purfling. It's a pity that I cannot make it right now because it takes a few things here to make Purfling. At the time I made it, I was just finished off the violin making school. The thing is, first of all, you choose a material, which is the one in the middle. You have a block of wood. You plane it nice, that it's nicely straight, exactly along the grain. Otherwise, your Purfling wouldn't go along the grain. You put it into the mortise of your working bench, and then you take the biggest plane. You really sharpen super very well. And then you wetten this piece of wood with a lot of water, let it soak in, so it really, the first layer gets humid and wet. And then you take your plane, you have to be 2 people, not alone. You take your belt and you put it around the knob of the plane. One is there and is pushing a lot and says 3, 2, 1. And the other one takes the belt and is pulling the plane, and the other one as well. And you make with one hip a nice curl of wood, which is more a layer of that wood. And then you have these pieces. You make them wet, you get them dried out that they become flat again. And then you start the coloring of the sides. You can take the same wood, or you could also take ebony wood. And so we created small plates with white wood and some ebony or the white wood. And then we also colored thinner layers of that. At the time, I think it was poplar, which we were using for this kind of work. And once the whole thing with hot glue, we glued it all together in a press with a lot of clamps. I remember we didn't have so many clamps as we needed actually. And then once it was all dried out after a few days, then we cut it in small thin stripes, not this long because we didn't get it done that pretty well. We had like this long, more or less, yeah. Up to that point, it all sounds very easy and you could make it. It goes in at least 1 or 2 days. And then you start making your first purfling, and then you discover all the things which you will be aware the next time you make your own purfling. One of the issues I had to face was that the black ink soaked into the white material here, and after gluing it into my violin, it also left a little bit into the violin. The purfling with the ebony was doing better, but the ebony is actually not elastic, and when you make your fluting, it is kind of almost chipping out. By thinking over the whole thing, if I should now make new, better purfling, then I decided, well, maybe there is a reason that there is out there in Germany even a trade with apprenticeship and everything where they call it Holzmosaiker. These are the same craftsmen people who create for guitar makers around the sound hole these decoration with the apply, or the purfling with all kind of designs for the guitars. I bought a few purfling out of darker wood. I bought also these ones for my double bass for the violin making competition, where then I got the mention of for the best sounding bass. After all, I decided that since I'm in Cremona and all the violin makers here in Cremona go to Morassi, lutherie shop to get their purfling, that somehow I think I don't have to feel like a loser that I don't make my own purfling. Later on in a few years, maybe it's also nice that I just use what this place offers. At least I think that Stradivari didn't cook his own varnish. That was a different trade. And I think also that they didn't do their own purfling. I think at the time this Holzmosaiker, I don't know how it's called in English, that was a different specific trade, because it was used much more in every kind of furniture, even toolboxes and everything. They decorated with a lot of linings and things like this. And so that was more common and people were using it more frequently. And that was that people just went there to get it in order to decorate some things because it was used to do. In case you say, no, I want you, Edgar, to get in a purfling out of pier or a purfling decorated with some lines similar like of a guitar, just let me know and I will build an instrument for you just the way how you want it. At the time, I'm actually quite happy with the normal purfling. I have here like 2 tubes. This one, the smaller one, is for violin. And here I have here, as you can see, I have a few here. If you want to see exactly from the beginning to making the fluting how Edgar is doing his purfling, go on Edgar Online Violin Making Academy and purchase purfling. Thanks for watching, and especially thank you for your subscription, because without that it's less fun. Thanks, see you next time. Ciao, ciao, bye bye.